Adventures. I'm your host, Rachel, alongside Katie.
Hi.
Here to whisk you away on another thrilling journey through the magical realms of Disney, Universal, and beyond. Today is a special episode. We are going to chat about how Walt Disney World keeps their guests safe during a hurricane. We are closely monitoring the current Hurricane Milton and just got an update from Walt Disney World like 10 minutes ago, and thought we'd share more details as I've gone through a hurricane at Walt Disney World before. But first, big thank you, especially with everything going on right now, to our sponsor, Alonzi Travel. They are taking excellent care of our guests. We have been waiting on hold for, we don't even want to talk about it. Making sure our clients are well taken care of, because Alonzi Travel is the ultimate family theme park experts. Planning theme park trips can be overwhelming and stressful during a hurricane, but Alonzi Travel is here to make it stress-free. With their years of experience, they're your lightning lane to hassle-free travel. They handle all the details, even when you need to reschedule because of a hurricane, allowing you to focus on having fun and staying safe with your loved ones. Whether you dream of Hogwarts or Walt Disney World, they've got it covered, tailoring the trip to your family's needs. Visit alonzi-travel.com/take the trip for magical adventure.
Yay. You got through it.
Yay. So Katie is going to do another interview style, because I have, I'm not going to say had the pleasure, but I'm going to say I have been at Walt Disney World during a hurricane. And, well, you're going to ask me, so I'm not going to go into it. So go for it, Katie.
All right. Well, let's start it off with hurricane season.
Yeah.
Hurricane season is very long.
Yeah.
And you have situations like this where we thought we were in the clear, and we're obviously not. Thank you, Milton. Yep. Hurricane season is June 1st through November 30th, which is kind of shocking when you look at those actual dates, because that's like half of the year.
Well, and a lot of times September is when we see the most aggressive ones, but September like dies off, and we don't really see, at least in the States, we don't really see late season hurricanes like this. So this really is an anomaly.
And a very busy time, because from like this second week of October is when the crowds start coming, and they really don't stop until January. So what hurricane did you ride out at Walt Disney World?
I had to remember the name because it's been actually 2 years, but I was there for Hurricane Ian, and I have a Amazon album, so I know exactly the dates. It was September 28th, actually. So about a week before this current one. And it was an I. So earlier letter than what we're experiencing now with Milton, but it was, hold on, I took a screenshot of the Weather Channel because I needed to remind myself. Yeah, hold on. Okay, Ian strengthened to a Category 4 storm as it made landfall. So it was Category 4 when it hit.
Did it come from the east? I cannot remember Ian, to tell you the truth, as Louisianian.
No, I don't remember. I think it did because it hit Fort Myers the hardest.
Okay, now I remember Ian.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it hit. I have a friend who lives in Fort Myers, and it hit really hard. But it hit as a Category 4. Milton strengthened to a Category 5 in the Gulf, but is projected to hit as a Category 3. It's projected to hit Thursday morning. So, anything can happen with a hurricane. Literally anything. Beryl, I'm looking at you, Beryl.
Well, and this one, I have clients in Orlando right now.
Same.
They all left before we even knew anything about it. There was a lot of doomsdayers saying, oh, there's going to be another one. There's going to be another one. But there was nothing concrete. And all my clients traveled on Saturday for check-in Saturday afternoon. And my clients were literally on airplanes when my phone was like, and I was like, oh, okay. So this is what we're doing this week. Yeah.
Yeah, because for when people look back on this YouTube and will wonder why it even matters, last week was when Hurricane Helene hit, and it is a devastating hurricane, because this hurricane did something that no hurricanes do, and it went over the Blue Mountain Ridge Mountains and just devastated those areas. So like we were just just impacted. Now, Orlando wasn't impacted by Helene. They had some rain, of course, but it wasn't really impacted. This one is projected to go straight across Florida, starting at around Tampa and then going straight across. So this one is very similar to Ian in that regard.
Okay, where were you staying during Ian? What resort were you at?
This is important to me because where you stay is very important, in my opinion.
I put that in the notes.
Disney's Saratoga Springs Resort and Spa, which is a
Okay.
Disney Vacation Club villa. I was there on points because I am a vacation club member.
Was that a good resort choice in your mind to ride out a hurricane? And
Yes.
why or why not?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Well, especially if you're in a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, or a 3-bedroom, because they have full kitchens. And if you are there 2 days before you know the hurricane is happening, you could get grocery delivery and then you're set because it has a full kitchen. We were in a studio which still has a large mini fridge. So not a cooler. It has a mini fridge, a microwave, and a toaster. So it does have like some extra amenities that standard hotel rooms do not have. So we did have grocery delivery. So we had bread, peanut butter, mac and cheese bowls. We went and got, what else did we had some other things. Well, we went to the food court and got some food, which we'll talk about in just a second. But being in a minimum a studio, because you have a microwave and a toaster, is very, very helpful because there is going to come a time where you have to shelter in place.
Yes.
And when you shelter,
I was going to ask how long you sheltered in place.
I don't remember. It was because part of it was overnight and like you're sleeping. So I think it was like maybe 8 p.m. to 10 a.m. the next day.
That's not bad. So, that's normal sleepy hours.
Yeah, you really didn't feel like you were stuck. It might have been longer than that because I don't have all the screenshots and stuff from the shelter in place notifications, but we did have shelter in place and we did have food. So like we would look outside and be like, oh no, it is way too windy. Oh no, absolutely not. Let's make a bowl of mac and cheese.
I spoke on this morning when I was live on TikTok about why the resort matters, because how far are you from the main lobby? Do you have a resort where you need to go outside to access the main lobby, which a lot of them are like that.
Oh, see, that's not what mattered to me, because Saratoga Springs is one of those where it's a bunch of different buildings and you have to walk to get to the lobby. I see your point though, but to me, it was more important to have in the room amenities. And Saratoga Springs has 2 on-site restaurants. So that means they have more food. And it's also a vacation club. So they have different kinds of food offerings, like frozen dinners and stuff. Some of the value resorts, they'll have food available, but because you don't have an oven in your room, they're not going to have a frozen pizza. Vacation club resorts have frozen pizzas.
And that makes sense because I keep thinking of Pop Century, and we're at Pop Century. You know, you may be close to the lobby. You're only going to have a beverage cooler. You can grab some sandwiches, because I've already seen some of the hurricane offerings that are being provided in the food courts and quick services right now. It's a lot of grab and go stuff, salads and sandwiches and things like that. Yeah. And
that'll be at all the resorts because they're trying to limit the strain on their resources. So they will have grab and go stuff. And I posted a TikTok picture reel, and I'll read it to you because I have a picture of it, of the meal kits that they had. So this was specifically for Saratoga Springs. Amazon photos. Don't be a little brat.
Don't. It's not brat summer anymore. It's hurricane fall.
I know. Okay, come on. So they had an adult breakfast meal box, which had a bagel, cereal bowl, fresh fruit milk, yogurt parfait, simply orange juice, cream cheese, butter, and jam. A kid's breakfast box, which had a cereal box, raisins, apples, peanut butter cup, yogurt smoothie, milk, apple juice. And then they had a roast beef sandwich, tuna salad sandwich, chicken salad sandwich, egg salad sandwich, ham and cheese sandwich, vegetarian wrap. So those were all the meal kits, and you can tell those are all things that are going to keep, especially in like, if you just have a cooler, just the cooler fridge, those will keep in the cooler fridge.
Side eye the tuna fish. That's just personal
Look,
preference.
same,
I would want that in my beverage cooler. I mean,
same, but you know, some people love tuna.
one of my the first time we ever stayed at Pop Century, the beverage cooler melted my creme brulee, and I'll never forgive it. I had gotten creme brulee from all.
Melted it.
Yeah, I got up the next morning and it was like
Too
no
hot.
longer congealed. It was liquid.
It's rude.
It was. I was upset.
But that's an interesting comment you make about the outside versus inside, because a lot of the deluxe resorts are all interior corridor.
Mhm.
And I did have some friends that were staying at like the beach club, and they said, you know, they could just walk around the whole time because, I mean, they had shelter in place, but it was more like just don't leave the resort. But at Saratoga Springs, because our lobby was not connected to anything, we did have the shelter in place. So that way you did not come to the lobby. So the deluxe resorts, look, things matter at price
Well,
points, all right?
Well,
They
okay,
do.
because let me just for right now, I currently have two families at Pop Century. I had a family at Fort Wilderness that they have left. They
Yep,
have
they have
Fort
to.
Wilderness will close, guys,
Yep.
and we can talk more about that in a second. And then I have a family at Universal that are at Portofino. At Portofino, you can get to the lobby from everywhere. So you know, it matters where you stay.
That is
It
racist.
does.
And like I said, with the vacation clubs, because the rooms have, a lot of the rooms have ovens, they
Mhm.
have food, and all of them have microwaves. So they all have microwavable meals. They have, you know, frozen meals that you can take. So this is like, if you're not able to get grocery delivery, you do have food options. That's not to say you're going to starve. There's just a different availability, because it would be really crappy of Disney to be like, here's a microwavable meal. Oh, you don't have a microwave in any of these rooms, but here you go. Good luck. That would be really crappy. They don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as you mentioned, all of the food courts do have these grab and go options. It is going to vary based on the food availability. So if they don't have PB&J supplies, they can't give you a PB&J. And they will be offering limited hot food as long as they can provide it. So that is available as well. So like, you're not going to starve. So please don't hoard food,
Oh, yes.
because you're not going to be sheltering in place for
Mhm.
days. You're going to be sheltering in place for maybe a day.
Well, and also that brings up a great thing on resources in general is the hurricane's not just coming to Disney, it's coming to Orlando as a whole. So we have to be mindful of the people that live in the city, because they are going to need to get supplies. They are going to need groceries and things like that. So
Yeah, you
be
don't need to
mindful.
go to Publix and buy toilet paper. Walt Disney World has enough toilet paper for you. Please don't go
Yes.
buy the toilet paper. People get crazy with toilet paper anyways. And you don't need to go buy all the bottled water. Please save that for the Orlando people. Disney
Yeah.
has bottled water, and also their tap water, albeit not great tap water, is drinkable. I didn't say it tastes good though. So nobody can come at me and say that the Orlando water tastes good, because it does not. But it
It's not.
is drinkable. It's not
No.
going to kill you. It may not taste great, but it's not going to kill you.
And you also don't need to, break your budget buying all the $8 smart water
Yeah, don't do that either.
out of the quick service.
Unless you really want to, but like, let's not hoard resources. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Let's see what's next. What
Well, you said pros and cons of hurricane season.
Okay.
So, like, it's not guaranteed.
But is there anything else you want to add about your experience with Ian? Was there anything going on after? Like, when did you get to go back to the parks? Did you go back to the parks?
Well, there's tons of stuff. So, okay, I'm looking at your notes because I don't
I'm
want
trying to get you to talk about the resort activities.
Yeah, okay, well, just ask me that then. So, okay, let's just kind of backtrack a little bit. Disney waits as long as possible to make operational updates, just because they don't want to close their parks. You know, they want you to be able to enjoy the parks as long as you can. And weather is unpredictable. It may change. So, like, why close the parks when it's just going to bypass you? That happens with hurricanes. Today, we just 10 minutes ago got the update that the parks are closing early tomorrow, and they will likely they didn't say for sure. I hope you saw that. Likely be closed on the 10th because the hurricane is supposed to hit Orlando in the morning on the 10th. So they did confirm that they're going to close early on the 9th. So now we know the parks are going to close early on the 9th, and we're going to need to go back to the hotel and shelter in place plan from there. So, okay, now I know that tomorrow I'm going to stay in the parks until 1. I'm going to get there at rope drop because there's no excuse. I'm not going to have a full day. I'm going to get there at rope drop and I'm going to leave at 1. I'm going to go back to the hotel and I'm going to go to the front desk first. Lobby. I'm going to go to the lobby first because the lobby, every lobby, is going to have an activities cast. We've talked about them before.
Yeah, we have.
All the resorts have on-site activities, but most of the time everybody's at the parks and they're not taking advantage of them. But this time you are. You're going to get your resort money's worth at this resort. You're going to go to the lobby and you're going to see what the activities are provided by the activities cast members. Every resort is going to be different. Mm-hmm. And this is also where staying at a deluxe resort is nice because even when you can't leave your hotel, you can walk your booty down to the lobby and do coloring. So they have different activities. We didn't see, a lot of them were very kid friendly at Saratoga Springs, so we didn't really participate in them. However, a very uniquely Disney thing is cast members will make frequent pop-ups. We've talked about this before, that
you mean characters? You said cast members.
I thought characters. It replayed in my brain. I'm like, no, that wasn't the right word.
You were talking about, but they probably didn't.
Yes. So we've talked about this before. Characters do make pop-ups. And during the hurricanes, shelter in place and things, they will make more frequent pop-ups. We saw Goofy and Pluto so many times. Goofy and Pluto acting silly, doing meet and greets. Chip and Dale came out too, but it was really Goofy and Pluto we saw the most. And they were out for a long time. Now, you aren't going to know when they're going to show up. You just kind of got to be in the right place at the right time. But it's a nice Disney touch that these characters are there. Don't expect it because I don't want to, let's,
everything is
shattering the I'm going to shatter the magic for 5 seconds. If you don't, I'm going to hold my hand up. If you don't want to hear shattering the magic, scroll past until my hands are down. Okay. These are cast members that are coming to be these characters. And sometimes cast members cannot make it. So don't expect it because the cast members do have to show up, but it is something that Disney does historically.
That's what I was going to say. All dependent on what's going on in everyone's lives and the damage around Disney.
Right. Which, so that's the activities and stuff. So part of that, cast members, speaking from experience, because I have been a ride out crew before, Disney does have, every resort has specific cast members that sign up to be what they call a ride out crew. And ride out crew means you're there to ride out the storm. So these cast members are going to be there basically from the moment they're called, which is probably going to be tomorrow around noon, till whenever it's safe for them to go home and things are back operational. So you're going to see the same cast members for a very long time. These cast members are going to have like 16, 18-hour shifts. They're going to be on for a very long time. And they're there to keep you safe, make sure everything's operational for you. And if you're ugly to them.
And that's, I've been speaking on that a lot this week, that we always need to be kind to our cast members. They did not create the weather. They have families at home. Yes, your magical vacation is so important to all of us because you have saved and you have planned and you are looking so forward to it. But cast members are human beings, and just treat them with respect, and it will get you so much further when you have big problems like a hurricane or something else on your trip.
And it's also really important to remember that they don't always have the right information. Especially when the hurricane actually comes, things can change on a very dynamic basis, and they're doing the best they can with the information that they are given. Now, they can give you great updates on their hotel itself. But if you're wanting to know what time Epcot Food and Wine Festival booths are going to open, they're probably not going to know because they're more worried about making sure the hotel is operational than the park updates. The best place to get your park updates is the Disney Parks app. They will have push notifications. They will have a hurricane landing center. I use air quotes because that's not what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it. That's where all the updates will be for park operations. But if you want resort updates, that's where the front desk will be. If you want to try and extend your stay, you need to go to the front desk. Your travel agent can't help you. I can't see it. No.
Okay. Well, it's right there on the main page, and it's like the hurricane.
So it's on the My Disney Experience app main page. It's also on Walt Disney World's homepage. It's a bar at the top. So the updates are readily available. But if you want to extend your stay, your best bet is to go talk to the front desk in person, because if we call, that's just what they're going to tell you. Now, we can help once you check out. If you left early, if we need to facilitate refunds, we can help you with that. But on-site front desk, those are going to be the people who can help you with current, I need this help now support. But if you're ugly to them, our listeners that are not watching this, I'm making a face at you. I'm making my mom face at you. I'm not a mom, but I'm making my mom face at you. I don't even think about it.
All right. I'm going to switch and go out a little out of order.
Katie says, I'm tired of you telling people to be nice.
But we do mean this from the deep down bottom of our heart. It's going to be a tough week for everyone, and everyone should have patience and grace throughout the situation.
Well, and like, I just want to reiterate, like, it is not the cast members' fault. They are doing the best they can. Mm-hmm. And when we all know this on a personal level, when we get frustrated as a human, we tend to lash out, be angry, get frustrated, and not think rationally. And I know how hard it is to take a breath and just be calm and effectively communicate what you need without getting emotional and upset and taking it out on the first person you see. I get that, but we need to do our best to not abuse already abused cast members.
Yes.
Okay. But yes, go out of order, because we're
going to go out of order from the pros and cons of visiting. Are the resorts safe? Let's talk about the safety of the resorts during a hurricane.
It is fascinating to be in a hurricane with 100-mile-an-hour winds and see no visible damage to a building. And so Saratoga Springs, for those of you who have never been there before, it is kind of like set up like a moderate resort. These are buildings with exterior entry doors. Now, the corridors can be, they're not in, like, how would you describe the corridors of Saratoga Springs? Because they're outside, but they're in a building. I don't know how to describe that. So like the doors are in corridors, but the corridors are in like open air. So the doors aren't facing out, they're facing in. It's not a good way to describe that, but basically the buildings are outside. Okay. And we were walking around post hurricane, and like there was debris, some water pooled, not a whole lot, but there was debris everywhere up against these doors. And we would see like housekeeping and stuff go in, and there was no water inside. So this is the weatherproofing, the weather stripping on these doors is fantastic. They're metal, so they're pretty solid. Like there was no damage to the rooms at all. We never heard like creaking and cracking like our sliding glass door was going to break. None of that. We were not concerned about any of that. The most that we did was bring our tables and chairs from the balcony inside. Because,
Did you just do that out of the kindness of your heart, or did Disney ask you to do that?
I think we just did it.
Yeah, because you're a Texan and I probably would have done the same. But I'm
from Houston and we live through hurricanes, not as frequently, but we live through hurricanes. So we brought that in, but we didn't even need to. Okay. But the worst we saw, there was debris everywhere. It was so windy, and we saw big branches. It was crazy. But like immediately, the ground staff was cleaning it up. Immediately. And so we walked around after the hurricane had passed, and we saw all the debris, and then we went back to our room, and then a couple hours later we went back, and sidewalks were clear.
Yeah.
The debris may have been in the bushes, but the sidewalks were clear. And we're just like, oh my God. The people who don't get enough credit are the groundskeepers at Walt Disney World Resort. Like they work their tails off, and it shows.
So good at what
they do. Like we were never concerned about our room flooding. We were never concerned about something breaking a window. I mean, a little bit.
I mean, yeah, it's a hurricane, you know.
It's with 100+ mile-an-hour winds. Yes, but also then we brought the stuff inside, and then like, okay, now I'm all right because I brought furniture inside.
I want to say, because this is before I joined the agency, that during Ian, I was watching a live stream on TikTok and someone was at Pop. They were at Pop Century and they were outside on the balcony because they're dumb, you know, but they were recording all the things that are on the building, you know, like the records and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like they were doing this, but they never blew off. And I was like fascinated because I'm like, my gosh, you know, because I was thinking in my head, get back in your room, that, you know, that flower is going to take you out any minute. And it shook, but it never budged.
Well, you know, we have to give it to Disney architects because they did plan all of these buildings for hurricanes. And I will say not all hotels can withstand that kind of damage, because a lot of hotels, and I just say this in general because for those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Rachael. My background is in hotel restaurant management. A lot of hotels take the cheap way out. So they won't do great weather stripping. They won't do heavy duty doors. They won't invest in things that are keeping their hotels secure. And Disney does do that because they're like, we'll cheapskate on the flooring, but guess what? I'm going to make sure your weather stripping's great.
Well, to your point, not only in my real personal life have I had someone reach out to me this week about VRBOs. In the live streams this week, people have said, I'm booked in a VRBO. Should I still go?
No.
Well, how do we know that VRBO house, that rental house that houses 53 families a year, you know, is built to hurricane safety standards? You don't know it. You have no
because
clue.
we've all heard the horror stories about house flippers and rental properties not putting the money in certain things. So like there are so many reasons why Katie and I both don't recommend VRBOs and vacation rentals. There are so many reasons, least of which you're probably going to be SOL for any refunds if you don't want to go this week.
So guilty. Friend, she messaged me last week and she's like, we booked a last minute trip to Disney. And at first I was like shocked. And then she's like, we're in a VRBO, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, y'all have the best time. I hope the kids have the best time, blah, blah, blah. She's out all of her money from her VRBO. And I sent her pricing yesterday for resort only because Disney, of course, took care of her with her tickets. They were able to move them to spring break, but now we need a Disney hotel for spring break because she learned her lesson with VRBO, out all of it.
Yeah. And not only that, but you don't know the quality of the hotel. You also, you know, we know this, but you may not, that Walt Disney World is on its own power grid. They have their own emergency services, its own little town. So just because Orlando is out of power, that doesn't mean Walt Disney World is out of power. So if you're at a VRBO, Airbnb, you're subject to whatever power grid they're on. And Disney doesn't play. Our power didn't even flicker.
And you know what? Now that you say that, that is something I had not thought of. But emergency services will be overloaded for Orlando if things are bad. Or emergency services will be diverted to go help in Tampa and the surrounding areas. If Reedy Creek has its own emergency services, so those will still be operational. That literally mind blown just occurred to me right this minute. See, I'm learning too, guys.
And to take away the fear of the power going out is also huge because we just went through Beryl here in Houston and we were out of power for 6 days in the summertime where it was feel like 110.
Let me tell you how cranky this woman was. So cranky.
Don't speak to me. It was basically the more like I was on the couch, not moving. And even then sweat was pouring off my body. Anyways. To not have the fear of the power's not going to go
Mhm.
out. Literally, it never flickered. And, my friend and I, we were never worried about our phones having to be fully charged. We were streaming Doctor Who Chromecast on the TV the whole time. We were not live streaming, but they were playing Happily Ever After when the fireworks were supposed to go off. Like, we were having a kiki in the freaking deluxe studio.
Please tell me you grabbed a bottle of wine from the yeah, that's my girl.
We had two. And the Disney Chardonnay was better than the one that we got at stinking Wine Bar George.
Really? That's
Yeah.
shocking.
Yeah, it was
We
shocking.
should do a whole podcast on like fun cocktail places, but that's we'll put it on the list.
Put a pin in it.
We're talking about hurricanes today. We're being serious.
So the point is that yes, Walt Disney World resorts, I have never once been concerned about my client's safety or my safety. And a lot of locals or people from Tampa will try and get a hotel at Walt Disney World because it's safer than their own home. So pros and cons, what I will say is if you cannot go, if you reschedule your trip, because if you don't want to be taking resources from people that actually need it, or don't plan a spur of the moment trip because you're like, oh, let's go do a hurricane party at Walt Disney World. Please don't do that.
No.
Please don't do that.
No.
Yeah. Also, you can't book. Disney has put a hold on new bookings for this time period right now, so you can't anyway. But the people who need it, because there are people who are actually going to need a place to stay. To our point earlier about resource hoarding, a hotel room is a resource.
Very much so.
Yeah, but if you happen to be there and you can't get home, that's completely different than, oh, I'm going to check in today, 2 days before the hurricane and have fun. No.
For our Texas and Louisiana people, Mississippi people, if you want to have a hurricane party by leaving the hurricane heading towards you and going to Disney, we would be happy to facilitate that.
Yes.
That is the only hurricane party that we should do.
Yes.
Okay. What happens after the shelter in place is over with the parks reopening? What does that look like?
Well, everything is going to be through that notification center. You don't really get a ton of they don't really have a better way to tell you what the updates are except via the app. So you just have to look at the app and keep updating it in case they don't send a push notification. You just get an update there. So you'll know what that looks like. And as we kind of said earlier, but to a much larger degree, the grounds crew work like insane people because we went, what park did we go to? We went to Epcot the next day after it opened, and it had a delayed opening because they were assessing damage and all that good stuff. But it looked like another day at Epcot.
Just
normal day. Everything was off the trash cans, all the hurricane preparedness that they had done. So they saran wrap the trash cans so water doesn't get inside the trash cans. They shutter the Food and Wine Festival booth so they don't fly away. But we went to Epcot and everything was back to normal. We saw maybe some down limbs and stuff in areas they hadn't got to yet, but the pedestrian areas were perfectly clean. Everything was fully functional. And you just walk around, and the weather was beautiful, by the way. Post-hurricane weather is...
Oh, yeah, just a little bit of a breeze and... Yeah.
Oh, my God. It was high was 80. It was glorious. But we were walking around, and we're like, it looks like nothing happened. However, Universal Orlando, it's in a different location, and the construction on their stuff is different. They stayed closed for an additional day because they had damage to buildings.
There was a hole in Jurassic River Adventure. Yeah.
And the Hulk was underwater.
Which that's just the way it's built, which makes it fun that it feels like you're going to go into the water. But
this it truly was underwater this time.
You were not.
So Universal Orlando had to stay closed for longer because they did not have stuff that was operational, and they had to, safety reasons, keep it closed. But everywhere at Walt Disney World was back up and running. I think Animal Kingdom had a little bit more debris and had maybe some areas closed, but Animal Kingdom has way more vegetation than any other park.
Yes.
So it makes sense. So we got all that back, and then we had to deal with ticket changes and park passes because that was still a thing. That's not a thing anymore, which is great because now my client that is there, they can alter their plans without having to do major changes because no park passes. But it was like a regular day. And it's just crazy. Like, continuous props to the groundskeeping staff. I mean, it's just like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, and the maintenance crew at that point, because they are going out and assessing the rides and, you know, safety checking them and making sure everything is 100% operational and safe before they will let one person back in those parks.
Absolutely.
And I would love to see it. I would love to see like the behind the scenes of all that one.
Oh my gosh,
probably never show us, but you know, like that is a Disney Plus special I would watch.
Oh my gosh, yes. To see like, to see, because they really don't get enough praise for all the work that the people you don't see behind the scenes, they work maybe the hardest, you know, but you never get to see what they do. So I would love that. Disney, that's a free one. That's a free idea. Take it and
I have
make
some
it happen.
other ones if you want to talk to me about current park plans, but we'll throw those out.
That was crazy.
What are some pros and cons of booking your Walt Disney World vacation during hurricane season?
Well, hurricane season can be a slow season, and you're not guaranteed to have a hurricane. I know this sounds so stupid, but there's not always a hurricane. The last time this happened, granted this is pretty fast, was 2 years ago. Before that, it was Michael. When was Michael? Hurricane Michael.
Also, like we said, hurricane season is June 1st or November 30th, and that's almost half of the year. So there's always, like, you have a 50% chance of having a trip during hurricane season.
Hurricane Michael was in 2018. So that was the only other one. There might have been one other. I think this is the fourth time they've closed for a hurricane. So I don't know the one before Michael, but Michael was in 2018. And then the next one wasn't until 2022.
Yeah.
Which I guess now that I say that out loud, that doesn't sound that far apart. And this one was 2 years later. So like there's been a lot of hurricanes that come through that don't touch Orlando at all. Or the most you'll get is rain. And as everybody knows, if you work with us, we tell you it's going to rain anyways. So you're going to need a poncho regardless of if it's hurricane season or not. So, and you know, when a hurricane blows through, the weather is nicer.
Well, and also peak hurricane season, which I consider, I'm not a meteorologist, I'm a Louisianian, is late August, September. Like that in my mind is peak hurricane season. That is the best pricing. It's, you know, I mean, sometimes we have to make sacrifices to get the trip.
Which, because you're not guaranteed to have a hurricane. There may be one, which is why we encourage trip insurance.
Absolutely.
Especially cruises. If you're not getting trip insurance on a cruise, you're just being okay with throwing away money, in my opinion. But trip insurance, if you're going, especially if you're going during hurricane season, it just needs to be a part of the vacation expense that you're fine with. Because would you rather pay $95 per adult, or would you rather possibly be out all your money? You know?
Yeah. Now
I think that's a pro. A con is there could be a hurricane, and the con is there's a lot of water. It rains more, but Walt Disney World especially. Not so much Universal, but Walt Disney World does have a decent amount of rides that are inside. So the number of roller coasters that'll close due to lightning is minimal. So you can still have a great park day, soggy shoes, but you can still have a great park day even when it's raining. So to me, rain has absolutely nothing to do with me planning a Walt Disney World vacation, because I just expect it to rain at least one day during the trip.
Heat. I factor heat into my trips.
I
don't factor rain, because you can have rain any time of the year.
Yeah, 100%. The heat is way more important to me than rain, because I just assume I'm going to get rained on.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. If you are traveling, do you have any like preparation trips if you are traveling during peak hurricane season?
Well, we always recommend these things anyway. because it's Walt Disney World. But if you're going to Walt Disney World without a poncho, you're just being silly. And you're just going to be paying that, my dad likes to call it stupid tax, because you're going to have to buy a $20 poncho in the parks because you're going to get rained on or get soaking wet clothes. Totally up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So always a poncho. I always recommend portable chargers, always, whether there's a hurricane or not. Bring extra medication. That's just a good travel rule of thumb. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you have picky eaters, I'm not a picky eater, so I'm not concerned about this, but if you have picky eaters, bring extra of their
snack choices,
sensory food. Like if they're if they're going to have a supreme meltdown, if they don't have goldfish crackers, make sure you have plenty of goldfish crackers. You know, these are kind of things that you should have anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a hurricane coming and you're stuck there, Disney has games. I don't know if you know this, but Disney sells games. Not just that, we bought Disney Uno.
I could play some Disney Uno.
Yeah, there's a Disney Uno. I think they had maybe a phase 10. They had a couple card games, but they also had board games. So people weren't really buying those. So my friend and I were like, let's get Disney Uno. And we played Uno in the room. So get some games. But if that's all just to prepare. But if you see like now, a hurricane is confirmed to come, just change your dates.
Yeah.
Just change your dates, because nobody wants to have a day and a half of no parks. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be stuck in their hotel room. And I know it's so disappointing. I know it is so disappointing, especially for the kids, because they don't understand that a hurricane is coming. They don't understand that things are changing. I get it. But it's so much better to just move your trip dates and have the full Disney experience than to have to go through this in the first place. So if you take nothing away at all, other than this, move your dates.
And I would, I'd like to put on there, be a little flexible with because also like I have a client on a Disney cruise right now, and they may be delayed a day coming back, and also my people flying home, driving home, it may take a little bit longer to get home from this magical adventure. So, you might want to keep that in mind, that like if you are leaving Disney on Sunday and you're saying, I'm going to be back at work, not this Sunday, just hypothetical Sunday, I'll be back at work on Monday. You might not in hurricane season, but that's also kind of true for like blizzard season, whatever that means. We don't know. We're from the South.
We don't know. We're from the South.
I know that people can't fly in snowstorms, but whatever. Trip insurance.
Yeah, but that's good, because we preach pack your patience all the time. Yeah. Even more so during this season. And like I said, I understand that is a hard decision to make. I understand the disappointment of not going on your vacation. Believe me, nothing breaks my heart more than not being able to travel, because it is my IV lifeblood to get up and go somewhere. Okay. And to not be able to do that wrecks everything. But I want my authentic Disney experience. I think that's more important, and staying safe is more important.
Yes. And for like a situation like this, where it is confirmed, it is, they are in the path. It is a hurricane warning, not just a hurricane watch. Disney has waived all cancellation and change fees, so that is something to keep in mind.
And by the way, the airport's closed on Wednesday, so you can't fly in anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. MCO is closed on Wednesday, and they've already started delaying flights for Friday. My phone is going off to let me know that flights are starting to get delayed for Friday. Fine.
So yeah, the moral of the story is Disney is a safe place to be. If you aren't, because I had someone in my TikTok live say, well, just don't go. Well, some people, they're there and they don't have the option to not go, or, with hurricanes, things change, or maybe they came on Sunday when Sunday we're like, well, now we're like, nah, you need to not go. But, Saturday, Sunday, when people are checking in, it was still like, maybe it's fine, maybe it's not. So, it's a dynamic situation. And Disney does take care of their guests. Disney, I'm there's lots of reasons why we love selling Disney, and knowing that our clients are taken care of in emergency situations is such a peace of mind. Because if you're at, no shade, if you're at like the Marriott, they don't care.
No.
Like they care. All right. I worked in hotels. All right. I care, but also I don't care.
Yeah.
And Disney does. Disney absolutely cares, because they have a reputation to maintain, but also it's a family place. They want to make sure it's safe for families. And you're not going to see that from these big name brands. The big name brands just want your money. They're going to price gouge the heck out of you. Believe me, I've seen it. Here in Houston, Barrel, they were charging $800 a night at a crappy hotel that usually charges $150. So the hotels, regular hotels, they don't give two flying flips about you. Disney cares about you. Disney, I don't think I've ever seen them price gouge during a hurricane. Ever.
No.
And that alone should be like a green, where's the green flag guy? You know, where's my green flag guy? You're wearing green. So there we go.
I'm wearing green because we weren't going to talk about the hurricane today. We were going to talk about Universal. So I was wearing slither and green.
Yeah, we did a pivot because we both agree that it's important to have, and this is evergreen content because, you know, YouTube is forever. So the next time a hurricane comes through, this is going to be helpful information, because Disney is consistent and they offer this stuff every time, which good job, Disney.
All right.
Do you want to ask me anything else?
I don't know. Do you want me to ask you anything else? Do you feel like there's anything we did not cover? And we did not mention the closing of certain resorts, which I do think is important to mention, that Fort Wilderness Campgrounds is closed and will frequently close in these situations.
And the Treehouse Villas.
Yeah, the Treehouse Villas and Copper Creek Cabins was also closed. And so basically Disney has assessed what areas may not be safe, and they have rehoused all of the clients that are there, are giving them an option to early checkout.
The reason Copper Creek and Fort Wilderness always closed for hurricanes is because of their proximity to the water level.
Oh.
And yeah, because they're right there. So it's not safe. And same for Treehouse Villas, because they literally are tree houses. And
no, I'm not doing that.
Quite literally, they are tree houses, and they're not safe. So those three are always going to be evacuated and replaced. Like they're not just, Disney isn't just going to be like, all right, we're closed. Bye. Good luck. They're going to be like, we're closed. We're sending you here if you choose to not check out. So they're not just going to leave you up a creek without paddle. You are going to have options, but those are going to be closed.
Client that checked out early, and for unused park days for people that like we're supposed to go on Thursday. In fact, they just texted me. They were like, do we get a refund for our lightning lanes? But I'm actually gonna see if they want to go to Hollywood Studios tomorrow, because that's the last park they haven't been to.
Yeah, I think that's what my client's doing tomorrow. So the point is, work with a travel agent, because that's our job. Like, you know, we understand that everybody could book their trips on their own, but we hope that there's never an emergency situation. But when there is, well, hey, isn't it nice that you don't have to deal with it? We don't like sitting on hold for 5 hours, but it's my job, and I'm going to take care of it for you, because I want you to not have to worry about stuff on your vacation. And it's just one of the things that comes with working a travel agent, is we take care of that for you.
And, you know, this was my first time having people for a hurricane, and I was heartbroken. Like, I'm heartbroken for them. I want to make this better. And of course, my clients keep saying, it's not your fault. And I'm like, I know I don't make the weather, but like, I want to take as much stress off their shoulders as I can.
Yeah, just because it's not my fault doesn't mean I don't feel bad that you're not getting the magical memories I wanted you to have. Exactly. I know I can't control the weather, but I'm still sad that your vacation is impacted. So yeah, moral of the story, alonzi-travel.com/take the trip. Katie and I, plus our team, take great care of our clients, take great pride in taking care of our clients. And if you want to make sure you're taken care of, you need to be working with us. That's really the moral of the story. Right?
Right. This is a little unhinged content
today. We're hurricane
today.
brain fried, okay? We're hurricane brain fried. But so we are really, really excited to work with you. We both clearly have clients we have to go take care of now. So we're going to go take care of these client issues, and we can't wait to work with you. And next time, who knows what we're going to talk about, because We may have to pivot again, but we don't care. We're just happy you're here. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and hit us up when you're ready to plan your own trip. Bye.
Bye.